What's up everybody, my name is Kyle, and today I'm going to talk to you about who Laughing Jack is. Laughing Jack is a fictional creepypasta character that has a popular following among his other creepypasta peers, such as Jeff the Killer and Eyeless Jack. He is a supernatural demonic clown who often poses as an imaginary friend to his child victims, who he then later kills and tortures. He was originally depicted as a colourful tan-skinned clown who would wear a rainbow costume with shaggy red hair and a long cone nose. However, after being abandoned for 13 years, the appearance changed to a monochrome aesthetic, which made him look more demonic looking. Laughing Jack was created by a guardian angel and was originally a colourful jack-in-the-box clown whose personality reflected that of the personality of his owners. His origins began after being sent as a Christmas present to a lonely boy called Isaac Grossman back in the 1800s. Isaac would grow up having abandoned Laughing Jack due to being sent to boarding school and then later becoming a cold-blooded serial killer who did obscene acts to his innocent neighbourhood residents. Laughing Jack's appearance had changed to reflect the isolation he endured, making him emotionless. As time passed, Jack's personality emulated the evil personality of that of Isaac, eventually being released out of his box accidentally and becoming a taller, darker and demonic version of himself. Due to the resent he had of his original owner, Laughing Jack tortured and killed Isaac with the same weapons he used on his victims. Laughing Jack has been regarded as a magical being with dark powers. For example, he is able to teleport in an instant, leaving a puff of black smoke. He can also turn invisible, seriously mutilate the bodies of his victims, and create nightmares and visual hallucinations to torment the parents of his victims. You'll know when you are a victim of Laughing Jack as you'll hear the sound of "Pop goes the weasel," which gets louder and louder the closer he gets. Originally, Laughing Jack's purpose was to protect children and comfort them if they suffered from loneliness as a pure-hearted angelic creation. However, due to being abandoned by his original owner Isaac, Jack became a corrupt, psychotic demonic entity who takes pleasure in killing and torturing children and has fully embraced his evil, remorseful and violent persona. I will now read a story about Laughing Jack. This is not the original story, which is, by the way, in the link in the description below. This story was written by Jude here, so sit back, relax and get frightened. My son's imaginary friend. I, a now single mother, have since moved in with my current boyfriend and lifelong friend. We'll call him R. R has a daughter the same age as my son, Mikey. I found comfort in not only having protection for myself and my son, but that he'd have a friend to take his mind off of what he has been going through. I was wrong. Mikey has never had an imaginary friend. I couldn't tell you when it had started. I can tell you this has been the longest, hardest week of my life. R is a biker and emergency mechanic and often has to leave at random hours. One night he had to answer a call and I stayed home with Mikey and R's daughter. We'll call her Lorelei. We just finished up dinner and both kids were clean and in their PJs. Mikey is 3, 4 in December. Lorelei is a month older. I was washing the dishes when I heard the kids playing with their jack-in-the-box in the upstairs hallway. I don't mind them playing, it's just it was getting late and they know they can play quietly in their room before bed, not loudly in the hallway. I turned off the sink and walked upstairs to tell them to get into their beds, but when I got upstairs, they were already in bed, Lorelei's jack-in-the-box sitting on the dresser, far from the door. I figured I must not yet be accustomed to the acoustics of this house. Both kids were awake, but just barely, Mikey more so than Laurie. Nothing was out of the ordinary. The room was on the larger size with 2 separate beds and mostly Laurie's toys littering the floor since Mikey had very few toys unpacked from the move. I packed the room quickly, kissed both goodnight, turned Thomas the Tank Engine on TV and told them to go to bed. They nodded and I made my way back downstairs to finish the dishes. Suddenly, I heard the Jack in the Box again. Pop Goes the Weasel, playing over and over. They didn't even stop to put the puppet back. It kept going on and on. I finished the last dish and made my way up the stairs, but the music stopped when I reached the second step. I walked into the kids' room to find them both fast asleep and the box where it was left, on the dresser. They weren't faking it. There is no way I wouldn't have heard them running back to bed. That's just where it started. Breakfast came and I decided to just ignore the last night's events, thinking I was overreacting. When the kids finished eating, I walked them to their room to find it a disaster. Somehow, someone got into a can of red paint and drew awfully creepy smiley faces on the wall. Instantly, I was upset and didn't know who to be upset with. First, I yelled at R for being irresponsible and having it accessible to the kids, but he had no idea what I was talking about and had no idea where the paint came from. I yelled at Mikey. I know he's acting out for a reason, but this just wasn't safe nor acceptable. He just looked down to his feet. "Did you do this?" I asked angrily. "Did you draw these smiles on the wall?" He shook his head. "Who did this?" I asked. "My friend, Mummy." "Is Jack a bad boy?" Mikey asked. I grunted in disappointment and turned to a wide-eyed Lorelei. "Did Mikey do this?" I asked. She simply shook her head. "Who did this? Did you do this?" I wasn't getting a response. Finally, I asked, "Did Jack do it?" She nodded. I had enough. I marched upstairs, took the Jack in the Box and put him up high in the upstairs closet. Then I made the kids help me clean the paint off the walls. It didn't help much. The red paint had stained the once white walls. I did notice something though. There were 2 out of the 6 faces that even if standing on their beds, the highest point in the room, they could not reach. I pretended like there was a way. There is always a way. Throughout the week, Mikey kept talking about his friend Jack. He spoke about him like a real person instead of a toy locked in the closet. I rationalised that because of his real dad being gone, he must have created an imaginary friend. I must admit, it freaked me out. I had nightmares of that song. I'd wake up with a jolt when the weasel popped every time. I haven't been getting much sleep. Something wasn't right about this Jack. Mikey began using Jack as an excuse or a way out of a punishment. When he'd steal a cookie, Jack gave it to him. When he turned on the tub and overflowed it while I went to the basement for clean towels, Jack did it. When he wouldn't go to sleep, Jack was too loud. Then one day, he must have grabbed a chair to get on the counter and put it back where it was because I found a knife in his bed. He swore Jack did it. The more Mikey mentioned him, the louder the pop in my dreams. Every time I asked Laurie, she looked at me with wide eyes and agreed with Mikey. She even confided in me that she didn't like Jack. Last night, R was passed out, tired from work. I lay in bed, so very tired. That's when I heard it. The kids got that damn box. Livid, I got out of bed to go to reprimand the kids. "Where's the box?" I asked. They just stared at me, a confused look on their face. Who's making that music? They didn't have it, yet I know I heard it. I was walking into their room right when the weasel was going to pop. I heard it. They didn't have the box. "Mummy, Jack," Mikey began. I didn't want to hear it. I just needed sleep. "Enough, Mikey. Where's this Jack?" I asked, angry and fed up with the stories. I grabbed the box in the closet. "Is this Jack?" Mikey shook his head. I looked to Lorelei for confirmation. She shook her head. "Mummy, he's happy with big smiles," he managed to say with his very limited vocabulary skills. I spied in the DVD rack a copy of Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. "Is this Jack? Is this who you're talking about?" Once again they shook their heads. "Mummy, he's laughing." "Go to bed," I yelled, walking back into bed where R was now awake and wondering what was going on. "That Jack in the Box! I keep hearing that song. If I hear Pop Goes the Weasel one more time, I'm going to lose it." "Laurie's Jack in the Box?" R asked. I nodded. He told me that the Jack in the Box didn't play Pop Goes the Weasel. He said it played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I bet him. I was going insane because of this box. I knew the tune. Twinkle Little Star my ass. I grabbed the box in the closet and brought it into bed. I began turning the wine key to pop the weasel. I was ready to give him a smug look. I know this song. It's been driving me crazy. I wound up the box, and he was right. I know I don't have to tell / no sleep what I found when I googled Mikey's imaginary friend, Laughing Jack. I'm turning to you for advice. Who else would believe me? I don't want my life to end up crazy or Mikey hurt. I'm hearing that song for no reason, and Michael's friend is really starting to scare not only me, but Lorelai as well. Mikey is learning words we don't usually say. He says things are dead, and uses big words we don't usually say like mortuary, decay, and a mispronounced rigor mortis. He's causing Mikey to break things, become aggressive, become impulsive, and do seemingly impossible and very unsafe things in such a small amount of time. I've been constantly watching Mikey and having the kids play with me in the living room. As I write this, Michael is arguing over his toy train with no one I can see, as Laurie brushes the hair on her little toy pony, quietly singing to herself, all around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. And that was my take on Laughing Jack, a demonic supernatural clown that brutally kills and tortures young children. He is an extremely dangerous entity, a monster capable of murdering anyone violently and gruesomely, who he considers to be worthy to be his friend. So comment down below if you have any more facts and information on Laughing Jack that I haven't mentioned, any more scary stories that you have on the character, and what creepypasta would you like me to look at next? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!